Most business owners have some version of these 5 documents. Almost none of them have all 5 in good shape at the same time. And at least one of them is quietly creating a gap they don't know is there. I've been doing this for 28 years. This is the conversation I have more than almost any other. Stick with me. I'll walk you through each one, what it's supposed to do, what I see go wrong, and what it means for what you've built. Document 4 is the one that surprises people the most. So here's what I notice. The moment I mention these 5 documents, most business owners nod. They know the names, they know they need them, and then they change the subject, because the honest answer is most of them don't have all 5 in place. And the ones that do haven't been looked at since they were signed. And that's the real issue. Not that they don't understand them, it's that they haven't got them done. Or they signed something at formation, filed it away, and hasn't been touched in 10 years, while the business tripled in size and the family situation dynamics have changed completely. So this video has one job: to make it impossible to walk away and still tell yourself you'll get to it eventually. What each document is supposed to do, what goes wrong when it's missing or outdated, and where I come in, because I don't draft these, I coordinate them. There's a difference and it matters. So let's get into it. I'll start with the one that catches business owners most off guard. And it's not because they've never heard of it. It's because they think having it is simply enough. A buy-sell agreement pre-negotiates what happens to your ownership in a crisis. Your partner dies, your partner becomes disabled, partner wants out, partner goes to a divorce. Before any of these events happen, the buy-sell is supposed to answer those questions. Who ends up owning this business and what do they pay for it? Let's look at a hypothetical situation. A $2 million medical practice owned 50-50. One of them passes away. His share passes to his spouse. She now owns half of the business she knows nothing about, has never been involved in, and has no interest in running. Their surviving partner now has an unwanted co-partner, and neither family is in a good position. A buy-sell agreement properly structures and prevents that. It says, if this happens, here's who buys the interest, here's how I get it valued, and here's how the transaction gets funded. The last piece, the funding, is where most of them break down. An underfunded buy-sell agreement is largely a piece of paper. The mechanism that makes it executable is life insurance for death trigger and disability buyout coverage for the disability trigger. Without those in place, the agreement says what should happen, but doesn't provide the means to do so. And then there's the valuation problem. I see buy-sells that were drafted 8, 10, 12 years ago. The business was worth $800,000 at the time. It's worth $3 million today. The document hasn't been touched. The valuation method written doesn't reflect reality. When the trigger event happens, you end up in a dispute at the worst possible moment. A buy-sell agreement isn't a one-time document. It's a living agreement that has to keep up with the business it's protecting. So my role is not to draft it. That's your attorney's job. My role is to make sure the funding mechanism is in place, the coverage amounts reflect current business values, and that when I sit down with the attorney, we're all working from the same picture. If you have a partner and don't have a buy-sell, or you haven't looked at yours in more than 3 years, that's worth a conversation. Document 2 is the one most owners never have actually built. They think they have it, but they don't. The business continuity plan. So what keeps the business running if you can't show up? Death gets planned for, disability does not. And that's the pattern I see consistently. Business owners have life insurance, they have a will, they thought about what happens with the business or with them if they're gone, but what they haven't modeled is what happens if they're out for 90 days and can't work. A business continuity plan is the documented answer to one question. What happens to this business if I'm not here for 30 days or for 6 months? Most business owners don't have one. What they have is an emergency contact list, a few names, maybe a sense of who would handle what. That's not a plan. That's a starting point. A real continuity plan covers who has operational authority in your absence, which clients and vendor relationships depend on you personally, what the cash flow runway looks like if revenue drops while you're out, and who is authorized to make financial decisions. A hypothetical that makes this real. A solo owner, 1.4 million in revenue. Most of it flows through relationships he personally built. He has a health event. Nothing fatal, but he's out for 4 months. Business has no documented handoff, no key person coverage, no overhead expense insurance. The team does their best. Clients start quietly making other arrangements. 4 months later, he's back. But the revenue picture has changed completely. Not because anything was mishandled, because there was no plan. Key person insurance and overhead expense coverage are the vehicles that fund the execution of a continuity plan. The plan tells you what needs to happen. The coverage is what makes it financially possible. Most business owners are the single point of failure in their own company. The continuity plan is how you build a bridge around yourself. This is actually where I spend the most time in the first planning conversation. Not because it's complicated, because most owners have genuinely never sat down and answered these questions out loud. When we do that, the gaps naturally surface, and they do that fast. Now, document 3 is one almost every owner has. The problem is when they last looked at it. And if this has you thinking and you have questions that are better left for conversation than a comment below, there's a link below to set up a 20-minute chat. Let's get back into it. The operating agreement. The document most owners signed once and never looked at again. When you formed your LLC, your attorney gave you an operating agreement. You signed it and you filed it, and in most cases, you never opened it again. That document governs how your business actually runs. Decision-making authority, profit distribution, owner transfers, voting rights, and what happens when partners disagree. It was written for the business you had at formation, and it may have very little to do with your business today. The most dangerous version of this is the 50-50 partnership with no deadlock provisions. 2 equal partners, no clear mechanism for resolving genuine disagreements. I've seen this end businesses and end friendships, not because anyone was acting in bad faith, because the document didn't provide a way out. And here's what to look for when you review it. Does it reflect your current ownership percentage? Does it reflect current roles, who actually runs that today versus at formation? Does the compensation structure match what's actually happening? And has it been reviewed alongside the estate plan? The last one matters more than most people realize. An operating agreement and an estate plan that were drafted independently, years apart, can create direct conflicts around what happens to ownership at death. 2 documents that should be working together end up pointing in different directions. Your operating agreement isn't a formation document, it's a governance document, and it needs to keep up with what the business has become. Now, I review the operating agreement in the context of full financial picture, flag what's out of sync, and bring that to the attorney so the fixes can get made in the right order. Now, document number 4 is one of them that surprises most people. And it's not because they don't know it exists. It's because they think the version they have is current, the estate plan. What happens to what you've built when you're gone? Most high-earning business owners have a will. Most of them believe that means they have an estate plan. Those are not the same things. A will is one document in the estate plan. A complete plan for a business owner typically includes a will, potentially a revocable trust, power of attorneys for financial and medical decisions, healthcare directives, and a current beneficiary designation audit across every single account and policy that you own. Those last 2 items, beneficiary designations on retirement accounts, life insurance, annuities, pass outside of the will entirely. Whatever the will says is irrelevant for those assets. The beneficiary designation controls, and most people set them once at enrollment or purchase and never update them again. And the rules around those retirement accounts have changed in ways that directly affect who gets what and when. Now, business owners have an additional layer that most estate plans don't fully account for: the business interest itself. How is that ownership transferred? To whom is it transferred? And what value do you give it? Does the estate plan coordinate with buy-sell agreements, or does it conflict with it? Does it account for the operating agreement? Does the trust structure interact correctly with how the business is held? The most common version of this I see: a plan drafted 15 years ago. Family situation has changed. Asset levels have changed significantly. Business structure has changed. The plan reflects none of it. It was well designed for the owner at the time, and this may create real problems for the family that exists today. Probate is the part people underestimate until it's too late. A properly structured estate plan with a revocable trust, where appropriate, can allow assets to transfer without going through probate. That matters for privacy, also for timing, and for the people left managing that transition. A business owner without a current coordinated estate plan has spent decades building something that may be partially or substantially dismantled in the transfer, not by intention, but by the documents that haven't kept up. The attorney drafts the documents. I make sure the documents work together, not against each other. Document number 5 is the one most people are underinsured on, and it may be the least expensive to fix. The personal umbrella policy. The cheapest line of defense most high earners don't have right is a personal umbrella policy. Basically, it's excess liability coverage. It sits above your auto and homeowners policies, and it activates when those underlying limits are exhausted. Most people don't have the right one. Look, high earners and business owners are attractive targets in litigation. Visible success, real assets, the assumption of the ability to pay. When something goes wrong, a serious car accident, an incident on your property, a lawsuit that names you personally, the other side's attorney knows what you're worth. Your standard auto and homeowners policies have limits that may not be close to adequate. And here's the gap most people don't know they have. Standard umbrella policies often include exclusions for business activities, rental properties, and certain professional liabilities. If you operate a business, even a home-based business, and your umbrella policy was written for a personal situation, you may have coverage on paper that doesn't apply when you need it the most. The coverage level question is where I see one of the most consistent mismatches. Most people have $1 million umbrella because that's what the insurance agent suggested when they set it up. The right question is, what net worth are you protecting? And what's the realistic exposure? Those two numbers need to be in the same conversation. And the umbrella isn't the only line of defense. What's titled personally versus what's held inside an entity matters. Asset separation is a structural layer. The umbrella is the last line, not the only one. How those interact together is part of the review. The personal umbrella is one of the least expensive and most overlooked protections in a high earner's financial plan. The cost of getting it wrong can be significant. I review umbrella coverage in context of total asset exposure, business structure, and gaps created by how assets are currently held. That's a conversation that often surfaces, things the policy itself doesn't cover. So what do all of these have in common? The 5 we covered today and the ones that will come after is that they only do their job well when someone is looking at them all at the same time. That's the role I play. I'm a business owner, I'm a certified financial planner. Our planning is built around quarterly sprints focused on 3 core pillars, and they're actually what defined our company name, Tribox. We help clients through cash flow, we help them protect and grow what they've built, and when those 2 foundations are in place, they can approach investment decisions from a position of clarity rather than pressure. Cash, protection, and investment. We're not CPAs, we're not attorneys, but we make sure those 2 relationships are coordinated. So the tax plan, the legal structure, and the financial plan are all working from the same picture. That's the quarterback's role. Most business owners watching this video are missing at least one of these documents, and at least one more hasn't been updated to reflect where their business is today. And here's the pattern I see more than almost any other. You know you need them, you're serious this time. You've told yourself this is the year, and then you can't agree with your spouse on one thing in the estate plan. Or you and your business partner get stuck on one issue in the buy-sell, and the whole thing stops. Nobody pulls the plug, it just stalls. And while it's stalled, you are exposed. So here's what I tell every client in this situation. Don't let one unresolved issue be the reason that whole thing stays undone. Table the sticking point, get your attorney involved, get the rest across the finish line. A properly drafted document, even one you intended to revisit later, protects you in ways nothing sitting in a drawer can ever do. What I've found is once we move past that sticking point and get something signed with the right professionals in place, people rarely feel the same urgency to revisit the issue they were stuck on to begin with, which tells you something. If you're not going to change it anyway, don't let it be the reason you have done nothing with it. Get something in place today. And before I let you go, here's your checklist screenshot. If this sparked questions and you want to connect about them, reach out using the link below. Set up a 20-minute chat. I'm here to help you whether it makes sense for us to work together or not. I enjoy these conversations and I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, subscribe. It lets me know to make more content like this. And a quick question before you go. Of these 5 documents, which one do you know you need to look at today? Drop it in the comments, one word or the number. I read all the comments. And while we're on the topic of documents, watch my video on stop putting everything in your trust. The link is right there. I'm John Rojas, and I'll see you on the next one.